Hey, welcome to a new section of the course, and in this video I'll show you how I use ChatGPT to build any program. So the secret, as I already mentioned, is to think as you're talking to Jim. Jim is an experienced programmer, so you want Jim to understand you what you want. So let's take an example. Let's say we want to build a web app, a BMI calculator web app. BMI stands for body mass index, so it indicates if someone's weight is optimal or over the normal weight or under the normal weight. So this is a typical web app. Now, how do you ask Jim about creating this app? How do you give Jim the correct information he needs to build you this web app? Well, there are two ways to do that. So you either say, write me a BMI calculator web app using, what do you want to use, what programming language or what framework. So we can either say here using Python, but better would be to say using Flask. So Flask is a web framework for Python. So a branch of Python that deals with creating web apps. If you just say Python, then Jim, the ChatGPT, might ask you, oh, well, there are different frameworks, so perhaps you should be more explicit if you want a more straightforward answer. So that would be one way to query this and get the code. The other way is to answer a structured question, meaning that, oh, write me a web app where the user can enter their weight and height and get the BMI as an output using Flask. So you can describe what this app looks like and what it does. So it looks like something where the user can enter a weight and a height, and it does generate BMI as an output. And then you mention what you want to use to build that app, what programming language, or better, what framework, in this case Flask. So you would ask now, well, what's the best way to do it? The shorter way or the longer way? Well, the shorter way would be better, like write me a BMI web app. This is better when you just want the web app without any custom features. So if you want the standard BMI app, then this would be fine. So write me a BMI web app using Flask. So I'll press enter. And so ChatGPT will normally give you an explanation along with the code. Now, when there are multiple files that are needed to build that program, as is the case here, then the answer will look more like a tutorial, like in this case. So we have this code. Since this is wrapped in this black area, that means this is one single file. So you can go to that copy code link, go to your favorite IDE or text editor where you write your code. I'm using PyCharm, which is a great IDE to use, so I do suggest you to give PyCharm a try as well. So it's free, the community version, PyCharm community is free, and it's used for Python code. So I've created an empty project here, so I'll write the first file, main, paste the code there, then follow the tutorial, the answer of ChatGPT. So you also need to create a template file named index.html in a templates directory. So there should be a templates directory, and inside that there should be a index.html file. So delete those things, and you need to copy the HTML code in that file. And that's the code. Then the next thing you might want to do is to follow up on the conversation and ask ChatGPT to change something on that program. But you want to stay in the same chat, right? In this current chat. So let's take as an example, we want to change something from this program. So first of all, let's run this program and see what we might change, how it looks like. So I want to install Flask first. With pip install Flask, you can install the Flask library. So pip is a package manager in Python. It installs packages like Flask. So once the package is installed, then you want to run this main.py file. So on PyCharm, I can right click here and go to run main. And Flask apps should be accessed through a URL. The URL usually is 127.0.0.1 colon the port number, which is 5000 by default. So that's the BMI calculator app. So it's very basic. That's what we asked. That's what we got. And let's see how it works. So the program expects the height in meters. So let's try 1.76 and the weight in kilograms. Let's try 68. Press on calculate and we got this. Your BMI is 21.95. Now, if you want to improve something on this program, for example, this doesn't have styling, so it's only HTML and it looks very basic. So let's go back to the program. And you can follow up with the next query, apply some styling to the web page. So always think like you're talking to a real human, to a programmer. So you can complain to that programmer. It looks very basic, like in the mid-90s. You know, the chatbot really understands this query, so it understands your intent. So you can always talk to that like it's a real human. Oh, sometimes we get this error, so I'll press on save and submit again. So there, and then submit again. And if it keeps having issues, then you want to reload the page and then go to this chat again, and you should see the conversation history and you can create a new conversation. So for example, refresh. And let's rewrite the question. Press enter. And so now ChatGPT knows what was going on in the conversation before, so it will give you an answer based on the previous conversation. So you can apply styling to the HTML templates using CSS. Here's an example of how you can improve the look of the BMI calculator using CSS. So that is CSS code. Now, sometimes this will not give you a lot of details where you can put this CSS code. For example, it gives you the code, but it doesn't tell you where to put it. So you can ask a follow-up question for that. So let's wait for the answer to finish and then we ask the next follow-up question. Where should we put this code, for example? So where should we place that code? So when you say that code, that means that which was in the previous answer. So it's talking about placing the CSS code within the head sections of the HTML. So I know that it's talking about this index.html file, but if you're not clear, if you are a beginner in web apps, in web development, for example, you can also try to get more details, right? I understand that, but in which file should that code be placed? So you can also stop the generation of that answer and press enter for the next question. So again, an issue, try to submit again. Now we get the answer. The CSS code should be placed in the same HTML template that contains the HTML code for your BMI calculator. For example, if you name the BMI the file bmi.html, you can add the CSS code in the same file, right? So it's clear now, I suppose, that we're talking about putting that code in the HTML file. So I'll copy this and replace all this index.html file with that file, with that code. I'll save and then reload the page. So now we get an error, right? Which is part of programming. So you should ask your friend, well, this is what I've got with your code. I got an error on the web page, and then you paste the error. We'll look at how we can fix programs later on in more detail using ChatGPT. So it looks like there is a missing tag there, and then we get the correct code. So you should be able to see that it's again talking about the index.html file. You see, it's always starting with this HTML tags. So wait for the answer to be generated. So it's been generated, so I'll copy the code again and replace the previous code with the new code, right? Refresh the page, and now it looks much better. And of course, if you want to change something, you can follow up on the conversation, like, oh, use a dark gray color for the BMI calculator text, for the use quotes BMI calculator texts. And ChatGPT will give you the updated script. So it doesn't simply tell you what you should fix in your code. It does tell you that, but it also gives you the complete code so that you can just copy it and paste it and override the existing code in your program. So wait until all the code is generated by ChatGPT. You'll know the answer is completed when this shows, this button, regenerate response. So when that button shows up, then you know that you got a full answer and you're ready to write the next answer or regenerate the same response. So let me copy this code. Go to here, paste, save with Ctrl S, go to the web app, and yeah, there we go. That's the new color for the BMI calculator. So it looks pretty cool. You can try to use it, calculate, and there we get the answer. As a practice for you, I would suggest you to try to change the program by asking the question, rewrite the program by using the imperial system or imperial units. And ChatGPT will rewrite the program by using height in feet and weight in pounds. So that's something you can practice, and that was my introduction to how to build programs using ChatGPT. I hope this is helpful for you. We still have some more videos to show you some other activities you can do in the programming field and also some secrets of ChatGPT. So let's move on. Thanks a lot.